This is for the journaling. We have 10 and 11 today. That's good. Or yesterday. Actually, no, today. It's not past 12 yet. Anyways, I don't know why I have this one. I'm supposed to read The Hobbit today. Or right now for this part of the stream. I'm so tired, guys. I'm so tired. Like, I shouldn't be going to sleep, but like, I just ate because iftar was at really late. It's like 8:05. That was not that long ago. It's like 3 hours ago. Yo, Alien Cockrell, welcome back to the stream. And Queen Puppy Wags, welcome. Welcome back, guys. How you been? I'm totally not with a boy. With a boy? Which one are you not with? That's so interesting. Hello, whoever's with the Queen. You got a crush? Yeah, she's been having crushes. I think it's normal for her age, though. Like, you spend most of your days just like innocently playing, and then around that age, it's like, oh, the world changes. Like currently physically with a boy. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. But like, which one? There's Ricky, there's Mateo, there's Ruben, there's so many. He's just a friend, but yeah, we know you're with a boy. Yeah, we do. And confident, welcome back to the stream. Yeah, I couldn't make it first this time. It's okay. Uh, yeah, I mean, this stream timing is unusual. I usually stream like 1 hour later, like around midnight, so I don't blame you. But you still came pretty early. I didn't even start reading it. I made it first. Yeah, you did, Alien. I can't really tell who came first and or who typed first, but yeah. It's nice to see all you guys on time. It's 8 a.m. for me. Wow. It's very diligent. Alright, shall we start reading? We're studying chapter 8 now of Flies and Spiders. Okay. They walked in a single file. The entrance to the path was like a sort of arch. Arch or arc? Arc leading into a gloomy tunnel made by two great trees that leant together. Too old and strangled with ivy and hung with lichen to bear more than a few blackened leaves. The path itself was narrow and wound in and out among the far behind, and the quiet was so deep that the feet seemed to thump along while all the trees leaned over them and listened. As their eyes became used to the dimness, they could see a little way to either side in a sort of darkened green glimmer. Occasionally, a slender beam of sun that had the luck to slip in through some openings in the leaves far above, and still more luck in not being caught in the tangled boughs and matted twigs beneath, stabbed down thin and bright before them. But this was seldom, and it soon ceased altogether. There were black squirrels in the wood. As Bilbo's sharp, inquisitive eyes got used to seeing things, he could catch glimpses of them whisking off the path and scuttling behind tree trunks. There were queer noises too, grunts, scufflings, and hurryings in the undergrowth. And among the leaves there lay piles endlessly thick in places on the forest floor. But what made the noise he could not see. The nastiest things they saw were the cobwebs, dark, dense cobwebs with threads extraordinarily thick, often stretched from tree to tree, or tangled in the lower branches on either side of them. There were none stretched across the path, but whether because some magic kept it clear, or for what other reason, they could not guess. Hello, Sam Billionaire. Welcome back to the stream. By the way, which books are you studying? Tell me the name of the book. I'm just reading The Hobbit right now. It's a very classic book. And I didn't realize it was focusing on Yuki's face this whole time. Sorry, I'll just focus like that. What's going on, guys? How are you? We're great. Welcome back, Sam. South Africa. Yeah. The banned from live streaming. No, why? Sam, give me $1 million since you're a billionaire. Literally. Oh, that's what I was telling my mom this morning. I was like, Elon Musk is a trillionaire. He could just give us 1 billion, would be good for life. She's like, 1 billion only. Yeah, you have the king of kings. Don't ask Elon Musk for money. Okay, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Too young? Aw, that makes sense. Alright, let's continue. It was not long before they grew to hate the forest as heartily as they had hated the tunnels of the goblins, and it seemed to offer even less hope of any ending. But they had to go on and on, long after they were sick for a sight of the sun and of the sky, and longed for the feel of wind on their faces. There was no movement of air down under the forest roof, and it was everlastingly still and dark and stuffy. Even the dwarfs felt it, who were used to tunneling, and lived at times for long whiles without the light of the sun. But the hobbit, who liked holes to make a house in but not to spend summer days in, felt that he was being slowly suffocated. The nights were the worst. It then became pitch dark. Not what you call pitch dark, but really pitch so black that you really could see nothing. Bilbo tried flapping his hands in front of his nose, but he could not see it at all. Well, perhaps it is not true to say that they could see nothing. They could see eyes. They slept all closely huddled together and took it in turns to watch. And when it was Bilbo's turn, he could see gleams in the darkness round them, and sometimes pairs of yellow or red or green eyes would stare at him from a little distance, and then slowly fade and disappear and slowly shine out again in another place. And sometimes they would gleam down from the branches just above him, and that was the most terrifying. But the eyes that he liked the least were horrible, pale, bulbous sort of eyes, insect eyes. He thought, not animal eyes, only they are much too big. Although it was not very yet cold, they tried lighting watchfires at night, but they soon gave that up. It seemed to bring hundreds and hundreds of eyes all round them, though the creatures, whatever they were careful never to let their bodies show in the little flicker of the flames. Worse still, it brought thousands of dark gray and black moths, some nearly as big as your hand, flapping and whirring round their ears. They could not stand that, nor the huge bats, black as a top hat either, so they gave up fires and sat at night and dozed in the enormous uncanny darkness. All this went on for what seemed to the hobbit ages upon ages, and he was also hungry, for they were extremely careful with their provisions. Even so, as days followed days, and still the forest seemed just the same, they began to get anxious. The food would not last forever. It was in fact already beginning to get low. They tried shooting at the squirrels, and they wasted many arrows before they managed to bring one down on the path. But when they roasted it, it proved horrible to taste, and they shot no more squirrels. They were thirsty too, for they had none too much water, and in all the time they had neither seen neither spring nor stream. This was their state when one day they found their path blocked by a running water. It flowed fast and strong, but not very wide right across the way, and it was black, or looked it in the gloom. It was well that Bjorn had warned them against it, or they would have drunk from it, whatever its color, and filled some of their emptied skins at its banks. As it was, they only thought of how to cross it without wetting themselves in its water. There had been a bridge of wood across, but it had rotten and fallen, leaving only the broken posts near the bank. Bilbo, kneeling on the brink and peering forward, cried, "There's a boat against the far bank. Now why wouldn't it have been this side? Why couldn't it have been this side?" "How far away do you think it is?" asked Thorin, for by now they knew Bilbo had the sharpest eyes among them. "Not at all far. I shouldn't think about 12 yards." 12 yards! I should have thought it was 30 at least, but my eyes don't see as well as they used to. They used 100 years ago. Still, 12 yards is as good as a mile. We can't jump it, and we daren't try to wade or swim. Can any of you throw a rope? What's the good of that? The boat is sure to be tied up, even if we could hook it, which I doubt. I don't believe it is tied, said Bilbo, though of course I can't be sure in this light. But it looks to me as if it was just drawn up on the bank, which is low, just there where the path goes down into the water. Dory is the strongest, but Philly is the youngest and still has the best sight, said Thorin. Come here, Philly, and see if you can see the boat Mr. Baggins is talking about. Philly thought he could, so when he had stared a long while to get an idea of the direction, the others brought him a rope. They had several with them, and on the end of the longest they fastened one of the large iron hooks they had used for catching their packs to their straps about their shoulders. Philly took this in his hand, balanced it for a moment, and then flung it across the stream. Splash it fell in the water. Not far enough, said Bilbo, who was peering forward. A couple of feet and you would have dropped it on the boat. Try again. I don't suppose the magic is strong enough to hurt you if you just touch a bit of wet rope. Philly picked up the hook when he had drawn it back rather doubtfully all the same. This time he threw it with great strength. Steady, said Bilbo. You have thrown it right into the wood on the other side now. Drop back gently. Philly hauled the rope back slowly, and after a while, Bilbo said, carefully, it is lying on the boat. Let's hope the hook will catch. It did. The rope went taut, and Philly pulled in vain. Kili came to his help, and then Oin and Gloin. They tugged, and suddenly they all fell over on their backs. Bilbo was on the lookout, however, caught the rope, and with a piece of stick fended off the little black boat as it came rushing across the stream. Help! He shouted, and Balin was just in time to seize the boat before it floated off down the current. It was tied after all, said he, looking at the snapped painter that was still dangling from it. That was a good pull, my lads, and a good job that our rope was the stronger. Who'll cross first? Asked Bilbo. I shall, said Thorin, and you will come with me, and Fili and Balin. That's as many as the boat will hold at a time. After that, Kili and Oin and Gloin and Dory. Next Ori, Nori, Bifur and Boffer, and last Dwalin and Bomber. Bomber is like many dwarves combined, because Gandalf said he's so fat. Yo, Eris, yo, welcome back to the stream. Meet Sam, he's my friend. He's not a billionaire though. Just saying. Yeah, he belongs to me. That belongs to me. Wow. Can we play Scribble the painting game? It's been a long time. It definitely has, but I'm trying to read this book. And it's so interesting. I don't know how any of y'all ain't paying attention. I guess because you didn't like read the context. Dre, can I play that painting game in the stream? I guess we can after I finish. Like we could play one game. How old are you? Have you completed your studies or are you still studying? Are you asking Elian? What's the profession, ma'am? Hello, Soham Talili, if you're still here. My profession is unemployment. That's a serious answer, though. By the way, today I'm watching live stream on YouTube for the first time. Yeah, this is not your first time. You came in the last one too, but yeah, more like your second time. But it's nice. I think we have a new um uh reoccurring viewer or friend. All right, let's continue. I'm always last and I don't like it, said Bomber. Of course, because he's so big. It's somebody else's turn today. You should not be so fat as you are. You must be with the last and lightest boatload. Don't start grumbling against orders, or something bad will happen to you. There aren't any oars. How are you going to push the boat back to the far bank? Asked the hobbit. Give me another length of rope and another hook, said Philly, and when they had got it ready, he cast it into the darkness ahead and as high as he could throw it. Since it did not fall down again, they saw that it must have stuck into the branches. Get in now, said Philly, and one of you haul on the rope that is stuck into a tree on the other side. One of the others must keep hold of the hook we used at first, and when we are safe on the other side, he can hook it on, and you can draw the boat back. In this way, they were all soon on the far bank, safe across the enchanted stream. Dwalin had just scrambled out with the coiled rope on his arm, and Bomber, still grumbling, was getting ready to follow, when something bad did happen. There was a flying sound of hooves on the path ahead. Out of the gloom came suddenly the shape of a flying deer. It charged into the dwarfs and bowled them over, and then gathered itself for a leap. High it sprang and cleared the water with a mighty jump, but it did not reach the other side in safety. Thorin was the only one who had kept his feet and his wits. As soon as they had landed, he had bent his bow and fitted an arrow in case any hidden guardians of the boat appeared. Now he sent a swift and a sure shot into the leaping beast. As it reached the further bank, it stumbled. The shadows swallowed it up, and they heard the sound of hooves quickly falter and then go still. Before they could shout in praise of the shot, however, a dreadful wail from Bilbo put all thoughts of venison out of their minds. Bomber has fallen in! Bomber is drowning! He cried. It was only too true. Bomber had only one foot on the land where the heart bore down on him and sprang him over. Oh no, Bomber! Are you a boy or girl? Not to be rude. Hello, Marley, Adeline. Welcome back to the stream. I love your profile picture. I love that. What's the name? Kiki? Gigi? I don't know. I'm a girl. She's an old lady. I'm not that old. Everyone just makes fun of me that I'm old. I never said my age though. Just that, like, judging by the stuff that I study, like, yeah. Now that you say that, Sam, it was also my first stream here, and now I come here regularly. My bad, I'm new here. No, it's okay, Marley. But yeah, we're reading The Hobbit right now, and we're on chapter 8 about flies and spiders. He had stumbled, thrusting the boat away from the bank, and then toppled back into the dark water, his hand slipping off the slimy roots at the edge, while the boat span slowly off and disappeared. They could still see his hood above the water when they ran to the bank. Quickly, they flung a rope with a hook towards him. His hand caught it, and they pulled him to the shore. He was drenched from hair to boots, of course, but that was not the worst. When they laid him on the bank, he was already fast asleep, with one hand clutching the rope so tight that they could not get it from his grasp, and fast asleep he remained in spite of all they could do. They were still standing over him, cursing their ill luck, and Bomber's clumsiness, and lamenting the loss of the boat which made it impossible for them to go back and look for the heart. When they became aware of the dim blowing of horns in the wood and the sound as of dogs being far off. Then they all fell silent, and as they sat, it seemed they could hear the noise of a great hunt going by to the north of the path, though they saw no sign of it. There they sat for a long while and did not dare to make a move. Bomber slept on with a smile on his fat face, as if he no longer cared for all the troubles that vexed him. Suddenly, on the path ahead appeared some white deer, a hind and fawns as snowy white as the heart had been dark. They glimmered in the shadows. Before Thorin could cry out, three of the dwarfs had leaped to their feet and loosened off arrows from their bows. None seemed to find their mark. The deer turned and vanished into the trees as silently as they had come, and in vain the dwarfs shot their arrows after them. Stop! Stop! Shouted Thorin, but it was too late. The excited dwarfs had wasted their last arrows, and now the bows that Bjorn had given them were useless. They were a gloomy party that night, and the gloom gathered still deeper on them in the following days. They had crossed the enchanted stream, but beyond it the path seemed to straggle on just as before, and in the forest they could see no change. Yet, if they had known more about it and considered the meaning of the hunt and the white deer that had appeared upon their path, they would have known that they were at last drawing towards that eastern edge and would soon have come, if they could have just kept up their courage and their hope to thinner trees and places where the sunlight came again. But they did not know this, and they were burdened with the heavy body of Bomber, which they had to carry along with them as best as they could, taking the wearisome task in turns of four each while the others shared their packs. If they had not become all too light in the last few days, they would never have managed it. But a slumbering and smiling Bomber was a poor exchange for packs filled with food, however heavy. In a few days, a time came when there was practically nothing left to eat or to drink. Nothing wholesome could they see growing in the woods, only funguses and herbs with pale leaves and unpleasant smell. About 4 days from the enchanted stream, they came to a part where most of the trees were beeches. They were at first inclined to be cheered by the change, for here there was no undergrowth and the shadow was not so deep. There was a greenish light about them, and in places they could see some distance to either side of the path. Yet the light only showed them endless lines of straight gray trunks like the pillars of some huge twilight hall. There was a breath of air and a noise of wind, but it had a sad sound. A few leaves came rustling down to remind them that outside autumn was coming on. Their feet ruffled among the dead leaves of countless other autumns that drifted over the banks of the path from the deep red carpets of the forest. Bro, why is my back so stiff? Yo, welcome back to the stream, Kyle. How's it going? Scratch your back out. Bet Jory got iPhone 19. It's the iPhone 17. 17 or 16? I can't even remember. I think it's the 16. I'm bored. Sorry, Marley. Isn't it so interesting though? Like what I'm reading? Like they're in the forest and it's so sad, but they're getting close, they didn't even know. Joy's rich as Elon Musk. I have $0 my net worth. But I'm rich in many other aspects, like, my family. Alhamdulillah. Should I should this be your inaugural encounter with this channel? I would earnestly implore you to demonstrate your approbation by activating the like function and subscribing for forthcoming intellectual engagements. Wow, very nicely said, Sam. I'm a sub on all my accounts in a little bit. I have 8 accounts. Wow, thank you, Marley. That's so sweet. I only have like 50 more. I can't come every day. It's okay, Alien. You're rich in age. You're right about that. Alright. But not rich in experiences. I wish I were rich in experiences. Then my age would make sense. But I'm just old. I don't have any experience. It's like I'm a young person in an old person's body. I really liked your cat shorts video. Thank you, Sam. What are you guys yapping about? I don't know. They're just trying to roast me. Sorry, Marley. You could talk about your day, Marley. Like, how you been? Like, do you want to introduce yourself, and then we could get to know you, maybe? Like, how old are you? Where you from? Where you living? If you want to share that, like, you don't have to. You just old. Let me guess, you're old. I'm not gonna answer or confirm anything. We can always guess. It's fine. Just stalking the age, like Thanos stalked the Infinity Stones. Oh my god. Anyways, still, Bomber slept and they grew very wary. At times, they heard disquieting laughter. Sometimes there was singing in the distance, too. The laughter was the laughter of fair voices, not of goblins, and the singing was beautiful, but it sounded eerie and strange, and they were not comforted. Rather, they hurried on from those parts with what strength they had left. 2 days later, they found their path going downwards, and before long they were in a valley filled with almost entirely with a mighty growth of oaks. "Is there no end to this accursed forest?" said Thorn. "Somebody must climb a tree and see if he can get his head above the roof and have a look around. The only way is to choose the tallest tree that overhangs the path." Of course somebody meant Bilbo. They had chosen him because to be of any use the climber must get his head above the topmost leaves, and so he must be light enough for the highest and slenderest branches to bear him. Poor Mr. Baggins had never had much practice in climbing trees, but they hoisted him right into the lowest branch of an enormous oak that grew right out into the path, and up he had to go as best as he could. He pushed his way through the tangled twigs with many a slap in the eye. He was greened and grimmed from the old bark of the great boughs, More than once he slipped and caught himself just in time. And at last, after a dreadful struggle in a difficult place where there seemed to be no convenient branches at all, he got near the top. All the time he was wondering whether there was spiders in the tree, and how he was going to get down again, except by falling. In the end, he poked his head right above the roof of the leaves, and then he found spiders all right, but they were only small ones of ordinary size, and they were after the butterflies. Bilbo's eyes were nearly blinded by the light. He could hear the dwarfs shouting up at him from far below, but he could not answer, only hold on and blink. The sun was shining brilliantly, and it was a long while before he could bear it. When he could, he saw all round him a sea of dark green ruffled here and there by the breeze, and they were everywhere hundreds of butterflies. I expected they were I expect they were a kind of purple emperor, a butterfly that loves the top of oak woods, but these were not purple at all. They were a dark velvety black without any markings to be seen. He looked at the black emperors for a long time and enjoyed the feel of the breeze in his hair and on his face. But at length the cries of the dwarfs, who were now simply stamping with impatience down below, reminded him of his real business. It was no good. Gaze as much as he might, he could see no end to the trees and the leaves in any direction. His heart, that had been lightened by the sight of the sun and the feel of the wind, sank back into his throat. There was no food to go back to down below. Actually, as I have told you, they were not far off the edge of the forest, and if Bilbo had the sense to see it, the trees he had climbed, though it was tall in itself, was standing near the bottom of a wide valley, so that from its top the trees seemed to swell up all round the edges of a great bowl, and he could not expect to see how far the forest lasted. Still, he did not see this, and he climbed down full of despair. He got to the bottom again at last, scratched, hot, and miserable, and he could not see anything in the gloom below when he got there. His report soon made the others as miserable as he was. The forest goes on for ever and ever and ever in all directions. Whatever shall we do? And what is the use of sending a hobbit? They cried as if it was his fault. They did not care twopence about the butterflies, and were only made more angry when he told them about the beautiful breeze which they were too heavy to climb up and feel. That night they ate their very last scraps and crumbs of food, and the next morning when they woke, the first thing they noticed was that they were still gnawing hungry, and the next thing was that it was raining, and that here and there drips of it dropping heavily on the forest floor. That only reminded them that they were also parchingly thirsty without doing anything to relieve them. You cannot quench a terrible thirst by standing under giant oaks and waiting for a chance drip to fall in your tongue. The only scrap of comfort there was came unexpectedly from Bomber. He woke up suddenly and sat up scratching his head. He could not make out where he was at all, nor why he felt so hungry, for he had forgotten everything that had happened since they started their journey that May morning long ago. The last thing that he remembered was the party at the Hobbit's house, and they had great difficulty in making him believe their tale of all the many adventures they had had since. When he heard there was nothing to eat, he sat down and wept, for he felt really very weak and was wobbly in the legs. Why ever did I wake up? He cried. I was having such beautiful dreams. I dreamed I was walking in a forest rather like this one, only lit with torches on the trees and lamps swinging from the branches and fires burning on the ground. And there was a great feast going on forever. A woodland king was there with a crown of leaves, and there was a merry singing, and I could not count or describe the things there were to eat and drink. Ah, poor Bomber. That sounds like a really nice dream. You need not try, said Thorn. In fact, if you can't talk about something else, you had better be silent. We are quite annoyed enough with you as it is. If you hadn't waked up, we should have left you to your idiotic dreams in the forest. You are no joke to carry, even after weeks of short comments. There was nothing now to be done but to tighten the belts around their empty stomachs and hoist their empty sacks and packs and trudge along the track without any great hope of ever getting to the end before they lay down and died of starvation. This they did that way, going very slowly and warily, while Bomber kept on wailing that his legs wanted to lie down and sleep. No, you don't, they said. Let your legs take their share. We have carried you far enough. All the same, he suddenly refused to go a step further and flung himself on the ground. Go on, if you must, he said. I'm just gonna lie here and sleep and dream of food, if I can't get it in any other way. I hope I never wake up again. He's such a vibe, bro. Bomber. He's fat for a reason, though. At the very moment, Balin, who was a little way ahead, called out, "What was that? I thought I saw a twinkle of light in the forest." They all looked, and a longish way off, it seemed they saw a red twinkle in the dark, then another and another sprang. I'll be right back. Okay, Marley. Alright, where's Queen? I like her yap. I'm gonna get bored. Where's Arrow? Like, he's the only guy who's, like, interested in the story as much as I am. 156. Dang. There's 16 more pages. I'm kinda sleepy. Not gonna lie. Water break. I came first. Yeah, you did. Oh yeah, I was wondering that too, if that was Ellie in his profile picture. But I don't think so. Me as a baby? Aw. That's so cute. I can barely see it though. Read the mountain, please. The mountain is you? Man, it's been a long time since I had that book. I mean, I still have it. I mean, a long time since I read that book. But you guys don't like The Hobbit? It's so interesting. I love it so much. I'm so tired though, honestly, I gotta say. Should we stop here, guys? No, it's not interesting. Well, it's interesting to me. So we read 10 pages? Or like 9 pages. I don't know where to stop, to be honest. You are much cuter than your profile picture, Alien. Anyone want to be the duo in Forza Horizon 6? I don't have that game. Okay, well, what to do, what to do? I think I might sleep. I don't think anyone plays Forza here. I'm back. Welcome back, Marley Adeline. We're literally waiting for you. We're like, where's Marley? We're not gonna continue without Marley. Draw something. I don't have anything to draw. I'm gonna just get back to reading, if that's alright with y'all. Maybe like 12 more minutes of reading. Even Bomber got up and they hurried along, then not caring if it was trolls or goblins. The light was in front of them and to the left of the path, and when at last they had drawn level with it, it seemed plain that torches and fires were burning under the trees, but a good way off their track. It looks as if my dreams were coming true, gasped Bomber, puffed up behind. He wanted to rush straight off into the wood after the lights, but the others remembered only too well the warnings of the wizard of Bjorn. A feast would be no good if we never got back alive from it, said Thorin. But without a feast we shan't remain alive much longer anyway, said Bomber, and Bibble heartily agreed with him. They argued about it backwards and forwards for a long while, until they agreed at length to send out a couple of spies to creep near the lights and find out more about them. But then they could not agree on who was to be sent. No one seemed anxious to run the chance of being lost and never finding his friends again. In the end, in spite of warnings, Hunger decided them, because Bomber kept on describing all the good things that were being eaten according to his dream in the woodland feast. So they all left the path and plunged into the forest together. They all left the path? That's so bad. Oh my god. They couldn't leave one person there on the path to just yell so they could follow the voice or something. That's so scary. After a good deal of creeping and crawling, they peered round the trunks and looked into a clearing where some trees had been felled and the ground leveled. There were many people there, elvish-looking folk, all dressed in green and brown and sitting on sawn rings of the felled trees in a great circle. There was a fire in their midst, and were no torches. There were torches fastened to some of the trees round about. But most splendid sight of all, they were eating and drinking and laughing merrily. The smell of the roast meats was so enchanting that without waiting to consult one another, every one of them got up and scrambled forwards into the ring with the one idea of begging for some food. No sooner had the first stepped into the clearing than all the lights went out as if by magic. Somebody kicked the fire and it went up in rockets of glittering sparks and vanished. They were lost in a completely lightless dark, and they could not even find one another for a long time at any rate. After blundering frantically in the gloom, calling till they must have walked everything in the forest for miles, at last they managed to gather themselves in a bundle and count themselves by touch. But that by that they had time by that time they had, of course, quite forgotten in what direction the path lay, and they were all hopelessly lost at least till morning. That's so scary. They actually got lost this time. How's the exam going, confident? Me racing. They touched each other. They had to. It was dark. Like they had to, make sure everyone was there, but only to count. There was nothing for it but to settle down for the night where they were. They did not even dare to search on the ground for scraps of food for fear of becoming separated again. But they had not been lying long, and Bilbo was only just getting drowsy when Dory, when Dory, whose turn it was to watch first, said it in a loud whisper, "The lights are coming out again over there, and there are more than ever of them." Up they all jumped. Um, I'm getting drowsy too. I'm gonna stop here, guys. I didn't even finish the page. I'm so sleepy. Alright, take care, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one, inshallah. Thank you guys so much for staying with me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Wait, I just said that. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.